this morning. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so we're on to item number 2, which is the supplemental appropriation to the FY14 capital budget, an amendment to the FY13 through 18 capital improvements program, Montgomery County Public Schools, $5,860,000 for the school security systems project. So welcome, Mr. Song, and Essie, you can take us through this one.
Sure.
And Mr. Helmuth, sorry.
And this is a supplemental appropriation, as you mentioned, Ms. Irvin. The bulk of this request does consist of state grant funds, so that's some good news. And as you can see, there's $4.186 million in state grant funds as part of a statewide initiative for the state to provide additional funds for schools to augment their security systems. There is a required match to the grant funds, and most of that match MCPS has requested allocating what's already programmed and approved in their CIP project for school security systems, but they do need this 1.674 additional supplemental county funding to complete the match and to complete the work required by the initiative, as well as a certain amount of planning and design funds that are not supported by the state grant funds. So that's the total of the request. The request also does accelerate some of the money, and the PDF is on the very back of your packet. It does accelerate some of the funding that, again, was already approved and programmed from fiscal years 16 through 18. It moves it up so that the work will be completed in 14 and 15, which is required also by the state grant. There is a list on the top of Circle 6 that details more specifically what steps the initiative will support at MCPS. My understanding, and certainly I'll turn it over to Mr. Song and Mr. Helmuth to describe this, but that a thorough assessment was done of each school, and the security recommendations were made, and then this list obviously reflects how the school system intends to implement those recommendations. Mr. Helmuth also is going to go ahead and provide us a little bit of a contextual update on the work that's been completed till now with some of the additional accelerated funds the council has approved, as well as how this initiative fits into other work that's on the table.
Well, let me just say before they begin that I would like to pat the council on the back, because it was because of the council that we have accelerated this. And the council doesn't get enough credit for what the council does. So I would like to say congratulations to us, because we noticed that there was a need to move quickly, and we did so. So congratulations to my colleagues on the council for doing this, and now we'll turn it over to you guys.
Again, thank you very much. Good morning, and thank you very much for the previous supplemental appropriation. That was really critical in light of what happened, incident up in Connecticut, and it gave the board ability to respond quickly and address some of the kind of quick solutions to control the public access into our schools. And thanks to the state and Governor and Board of Public Works for coming out with additional initiatives that would cover statewide, and particularly like how they formulated the state funding allocation on this initiative, because they went by square footage methodology rather than some other formulas that we don't get our fair shares on. So we're very fortunate to have $4.186 million initiative from the state, and while it's matching. And not to further impact the capital budget, we looked at the expenditures that are already approved in the currently approved CIP to expedite some of the appropriations. So the net difference is approximately about $1.8 million, if memory serves me correct. And that additional funding total will come to about $10 million. And on page 6, as is explained, the majority of those dollars will go towards the interior and exterior cameras throughout both elementary, middle, and high schools, and providing additional access control systems at our schools. The other half of the funds, about $4 million, a little plus, will go towards physical improvements in terms of security vestibules that would force the secondary set of doors to be locked once the school session starts. That would force the visitors to check in at the main office. It's a concept plan that we came about 10 years ago. It's becoming to be very effective. But there are some schools with the administration offices that are hidden inside the building that does not have control of the main entrance. And those cases where we have assessed, some of the solutions include including security gates, as well as some of the cross-corridor doors, so that it serves similar function in that it guides the visitors to the main office before they can go anywhere else in the building. It is a lot of projects. So even the funding is approved, being able to implement this project and complete them by December of 2014 is going to be a major challenge, but we're up to the task, and we're already gearing up for this work. So thank you very much.
Oh, sorry, yeah, Councilmember Rice.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And let me just say thank you. I think that this is great and the direction that we're going in. The one concern, and I've talked with both Mr. Helmuth and Mr. Song Yu about this, is about our learning cottages / portables. And I'll give you a couple examples. I know that at Matsunaga, where my daughters go to school, well, only one of them now, and one is now going on to Kingsview, the learning cottages there actually open up, and that corridor opens up directly to the parking lot. And so I'm curious as to, in those kinds of areas where my daughter, as she goes to the bathroom, walks through that corridor that's open to the parking lot and then goes into the main building. So those children are still subject to. So as we're talking about security, I'm assuming that those, as well as at Krista McAuliffe Elementary School, where I just recently toured, they have a fence around part of their learning cottages, but it only extends to part of the wall. So you actually have a gated, locked fence, but it doesn't go all the way to the edge, and so people can just walk around the locked fence and, again, access the portables. So I'm assuming that that's going to be a part of this when you talk about the minor construction modification, that those will be some of the things, because it's great to spend a lot of money on cameras and security gates and all that kind of stuff, but if we have a significant portion of the population of the school that still is going to be at risk, then it's kind of a concern as to why we would spend the money and not protect everyone.
Right. So security gates are something that we did look at, but given the funding limitation, we looked at where the dollars would make the most impact. And those are identified in those 8 categories. Now, as far as the portables are concerned, we have heard many concerns from the parent community as well as from the school communities about exposures to the outside, and is not monitored or controlled. So what we done was we put the keyless, it's the same as access control system type, wherever there's portables. Now, as far as the fence is concerned, it is really not a security measure that would contain, it's more for containing students, for meandering beyond the, I guess, areas that would not be safe for the students. And the other factor about portables is that we're constantly moving portables from school to schools, somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 plus each year. So every time we move, then we have to modify fences again. So, and it's cost is pretty high up there. I haven't done a detailed takeoff, but again, given the funding limitation, we wanted to put the dollars where it's going to make the most impact, and we believe those 8 categories are going to be the impact. Now, we do have close to about 400 portables, where 90% of those portables are at our elementary schools, and we anticipate that number of portables will continually grow given the student enrollment growth that we have had and we're projecting for the next 5 years. So security gates, the 4-foot high fence is not going to be really, safety deterrent measures, if you will. So we're trying to put the dollars where, again, is going to make the most impact.
Let me just say this, that as you've had a number of those conversations with parents and I'm assuming teachers and administrators as well, this is an extreme concern. And I think that for parents who have their children in portables, it's going to be one of those that's going to come up as a discussion. Because, why would I want to subject my child to less security than somebody else who's in a building who's got all the accoutrements of a great security system?
Right.
And so I think that this is going to be a part of a conversation that I think that we need to have in the context of the CIP. Mm-hmm. As we talk about the number of portables at a number of our schools and the increasing need, we need to have this discussion in a greater context, similar to what Councilmember Irvin was saying as a part of the budget and surplus. I think we need to have a much larger discussion. And so, Madam Chair, if it's possible, I'd like to talk about this maybe in the fall again, because I really think that this is something that we are that needs a lot of attention. And again, I'm not saying that our schools aren't safe, but I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me to see a gate that's locked, that has a chain link lock on it, but then doesn't go to the full extent of the edge of the school, and why we wouldn't extend that out and close off that area, because just like you said, the majority of them are at elementary schools. And just as we want to keep folks out, and I mean, anybody can, you know, we've learned that security systems are they're deterrents. They're not the ultimate
Foolproof,
end all.
right.
Exactly. So, I mean, you know, we want to try and do as much as we can from a security perspective, and we don't want the parents that are the parents of our children in the portables to feel like they're any less valuable than the rest of our children.
Right.
And so making sure that they have the same access to security, I think, is really important and an important conversation for us moving forward. So,
Thank you, Councilmember Rice. We'll just add this to our growing list of issues that we're going to be taking up in the fall. Thank you, Councilmember Andrews.
Thanks. There's much more coming of going of students in high schools than certainly elementary schools and middle schools too, and that was part of the rationale for accelerating the the installation of the access control systems at all elementary schools. How will this work in the high schools, where you have a lot of students coming and going to either off-site for lunches or for other classes or work or internships? What will be?
So if you look at one of the categories, installing access control system for our high school, and it's only one device at the main entrance only. It's not throughout all doors. So you're absolutely correct. High school has so many doors and so many kids that are occupants in the building that are coming in and out. But nonetheless, the high schools, the access control system is not just during the school hours as well. It's, our high schools are used constantly around the clock hours, and during the evening hours, it provides some ability to monitor and control the main entrance exit. So at 25 high schools, it does provide some added measure. I'm pretty sure Ms. Helmuth can add to the justification.
On our access control systems, we have the ability from central office to unlock and lock those doors, which is so we can unlock it permanently, we can unlock it for a second to let somebody in, and we have a camera there. So the other rationale behind this was we do lock these doors when we go into a lockdown situation or we go into a shelter situation. We can now give all the police officers a fob, a key fob, that will let them into any school. They can get into any elementary school, any middle school, or any high school where those doors are locked by using that key fob on the reader and gain access. So we think there's a big plus to this.
Right. And the other is from a facility standpoint, we respond to emergencies every week, every day, just about every night. It just happens, a lot of breakdowns happen. And in order to respond immediately and be able to address, a lot of our maintenance staff does not have all the keys to every building. And having a possibility of that remote access is a great feature, and be able to respond to emergency and mitigate the issues in a quicker manner is another added amenities to this. And if I may just respond to Mr. Rice's comment and concerns about security gates, and I really appreciate that because I heard so many concerns from the parent community. And I want you to know that we are addressing case by case. I think it's more better approach, not just because we have the portables, we got to have a fence. It's not a blanket statement. We want to put it out there, but I recently remember at Only Elementary School where is a budget butting to a shopping center, and there is a property fence line that separates, and a lot of neighborhood has tendency to cut across the school properties to the shopping center, and those are security concerns that we do address through the fence, and which makes sense. But while it's not connected directly to the portable issues, I think the fence and the portables has to be looked at case by case, and we can make a recommendation as part of the CIP.
Regarding the cameras, who's going to monitor the cameras?
Well, the cameras are really never monitored. Well, let me back up. We monitor those cameras at nighttime when the schools are closed, and our alarm system monitors the cameras, but we only have the ability to monitor at any given time probably about 60 cameras. So we have to switch from school to school to school. All these cameras are recorded. So if there's an incident, we go back and review, but we don't